Now I'm at the point you wanna be with me. I'm vibing out at a higher frequency, cause everything that I want and I'm gonna be is when I wake up, that's when I start to dream. Someone you love is talking down, here is the plan. Let it fall through like a handful of sand. Nothing happens overnight, what you must understand. If you dwell on the bad, then you don't stand a chance. Something you want upset, saying why it ain't mine yet. That's because now you have yet to change your mindset. People don't put their mind to rest while they're so wired. A lot of people go to sleep and wake up tired. Power of positivity and persistence. Say that I can, we'll just sit back and witness. Make an impact when our time is done. Make money, help people, and have lots of fun. Whoa.
Welcome to Office Hours, hosted by legendary sports executive, entrepreneur, and investor David Meltzer, where the brightest millionaires, billionaires, and entrepreneurs in business, sports, and entertainment get together to talk about success, failure, and everything in between.
There's so much more effort someone will give if it is not seen as the job, but the thing that they enjoy doing with their life.
Take a deep dive into the mind of some of the world's most impactful guests.
So I think oftentimes the thing that we're looking for is right there in front of our face. It's just disguised.
But I actually really believe that not telling creative people what to do is exactly what you should do with creative people.
To share their strategies and tools to dominate their respective fields. David Meltzer hosts Office Hours.
Or back channel me, and we will aim to bring you up to the stage. But as always, looking forward to just pouring into this community today, especially a little bit of hot seat coaching, which is one of my personal favorites, let alone I know it's David's one of his personal favorites as well. So just as a reminder, let's make sure we share the room with your friends, family, colleagues, anybody that you think would benefit from this conversation. And of course, continue to raise your hands and back channel me, and I will bring you guys to the stage. You may not be ready to rock and roll. I mean, it looks like we have a few people here that are ready with their questions.
I love Nick. Thank you so much. We appreciate you and love this community. And, you know, BYAQ Nick is one of my favorites because it allows me to listen for instead of speak to. So I think it's important for all of us to make sure that we're listening for things, not speaking to. But go ahead, bring up the first person.
Beautiful. We have Oliver here who has just joined the stage. Oliver, happy Friday. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask David your question. Welcome.
Hey there, everyone. Happy Friday. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. So I know that you've been in Vegas for the past few days. Just wanted to kind of start off this BYOQ with just the basic question. You know, what's your biggest takeaway of the week so far?
Wow. You know, every week looking for what resonates with me, Oliver. And the reason is because there's so many great lessons that I'm learning during the week. I'm paying most attention to the ones that resonate with me, and I simply just capture those. And, you know, we've all heard the smartest one in the room, I'm in the wrong room. But I heard this week another version of that, which is if I'm not the smartest one in the room, then I better be asking questions. And so many people miss the opportunity in their own ability of getting into the right rooms, but not asking questions. And we see that at our meetups, we see that at our dinners that we do, we see that on the Breakfast of Champions. that we take the time to surround ourselves with a higher frequency, a higher level of awareness, and yet we don't ask questions. So not only shouldn't you be the smartest one in the room, we should seek tables where people are pulling up chairs for us to sit at, but more important, we should be asking questions. So if you're not the smartest one in the room, then you're in the right room. But sure, if you're not the smartest one in the room, you're asking for help, you're asking questions, you're asking people that are sitting in the seats that you want to sit in, how do I get into that seat? So that's my takeaway of the day. And I appreciate, the week, and appreciate the question. Nick, who do we got up next? Or where should I go next?
Awesome. I say let's take another one here from Clubhouse, and then we will take one from mine. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, that sounds fair. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, we have Justin here, who has just joined the stage. So, Justin, happy Friday. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask David your question. Well,
good morning and happy Friday, everyone. A good day so far. Dave, yesterday you were talking to Cliff Abel on live. That was a really interesting conversation. Former Super Bowl champion. He's now 33 and transitioning to the next phase of his career. But one of the parts of the conversation I really enjoyed was you guys were talking about, in sports, coaches and players all have a common goal. They're all trying to win, and winning, equals their next payday and equals them keeping their jobs. I'm curious, more in the business world, is how do leaders get everybody aligned with the same common goal? In sports, it's easy, it's win. And I'm curious, in business, everybody has different goals. Some people are just in their job just to make money. Some people are building a career. Some people own the business. Curious how a leader can best articulate the same page with them in that common goal, when everybody has different goals at the end of the day.
Everybody on a football field actually, has one ultimate goal. And I think that's the important distinction we need to make comparatively to a business. So, when we're a football team, for example, the ultimate goal of everyone is to win the Super Bowl. Beyond that, everybody has their own individual roles, just like a business. And so what you want to do is you want to create a Super Bowl each year for your team, for your business. And you want to have an ultimate goal. For me, in order to do that, I use 3 different types of training and alignment in the business. One is values. So I want to align the values of business, gratitude, to give us the perspective of how to win that Super Bowl business, which is truly to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. Forgiveness, so that people feel comfortable learning and making mistakes and allow others to learn and make mistakes. Accountability, and that'll give the company ease. It'll give it a flow. Accountability gives the team, whether it's on the field or off the field, control of its destiny, of that Super Bowl, of the ability to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. They do that through 3 different types of accountability. We hold each other responsible, which if you look, for example, with the New England Patriots, who have the most championships, the reason is because it was the most accountable team, not the most talented, not the greatest skills, not the greatest knowledge, but the most accountable, because they all took responsibility. And you'll see that in Super Bowl champions year, that responsibility. They may or may not take the laws of attraction, of being aware, and we do at our company. What are we attracting? And looking at the options, opportunities, and touches of favor, and what are we supposed to learn from those? And then finally, this idea of knowing these values of gratitude, forgiveness, and accountability. What are we doing to participate in this perception? Are we participating in perception that all things, even if they're unplanned, unexpected, or disappointing in their perception, are we participating in the same perception? And if not, what are we supposed to learn from it? Accountability allows us to take control by learning from a situation, not being punished, but protected and promoted by that learning. And then finally, to look at effective communication of those values, gratitude, forgiveness, and accountability, effectively communicating with the entire team, and at least having a source of faith in the business, in theory, in philosophy, in spirituality, or even in religion, a spiritual or religious, theoretical, or philosophical trajectory of faith in the company, that we are protected and promoted and not punished, even if we didn't hit our quarterly goals, our year goals, whatever they may be. That Super Bowl, if we don't win the Super Bowl this year, that we have the faith that we're getting better, progressing, having better behaviors, and trusting that will bring better outcomes, even though we can't control time. So the first step is to align the values. Then it's to align the practices in order to incorporate the value. Then it's the ability to align the execution of those practices in order to facilitate that Super Bowl outcome or better in a theoretical or a sense of what we're trying to do as a team. And the better that we read and reaffirm and confirm the values, practices, and execution model, the more successful, the more championships we'll have daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly. And they'll allow people to have, within the context of one outcome, to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. It will allow people to pursue their own values, their own objectives during the day, but stay within the context of what activity they're getting paid for. And, reminding people by incentivizing them that the only reason you're truly there, beyond what you may tell the boss or the boss may tell you, is to make a lot of money, to help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. Maybe your personal objective is to be there 3 years and leave. Maybe your personal objective is only the money. But within the context of the team, if all you want to do is make a lot of money, or all you want to do is help a lot of people, or all you want to do is have a lot of fun, if you're capable of doing only one of those, but somehow it adds to the team effort of getting more exponentially, then it's valuable. And it's the leader's responsibility and accountability in order to identify and incentivize those people that are engaged and available in that effort. And, be brave enough to tell someone if they're not aligned with the team, and go ahead and trade them, or release them as they do. I love sports, and I love the business of sports because it's so relevant to being a leader in business, to tell someone, look, if you're a quarterback and you're not performing, I got to go out and get you a quarterback or an offensive lineman. Or if you're getting, if the business is getting passed down in sports, it might be because of your age, but in business, it might just be because of your skills, your knowledge of technology, or of relationships, whatever it may be. So very important to have values, practices, and an execution model, and make it very clear how to incentivize people with what they want in order to get to the team's objective. Great question, Justin. Thanks for coming in early. We appreciate you.
Thank you. That was an unbelievable answer in a masterclass in itself. So thank you for that.
You got it. Thank you. All right.
Awesome, Dave. I was going to say, let's go ahead and take one from from online, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, there's a lot here. So thank you. I like this one. Why is empathy important to you? Empathy is the greatest of healing. Empathy is forgiveness. It's not sympathy. Sympathy is, oh my gosh, I walk in miles in your shoes and I feel bad for you. Well, feeling bad makes no one feel good. And empathy is much deeper. It has a greater understanding, has a greater ability to meet people where they're at. And empathy is the power of healing. It's a power of putting people at ease instead of what? Dis-ease. And so anything physical, mental, spiritual, emotional that is at dis-ease is to be healed in order to put it at ease. And the cure to all dis-ease is empathy, forgiveness, being able to forgive yourself, change the mindset, the heart set, the hand set, the energy behind what it is. You have the ability to heal everything with empathy, and putting ourselves at ease and maximizing the amount of time in linear time, man-made constructive time, that we're at ease will allow us to accelerate, aggregate, compound towards that Super Bowl, what we want. And so empathy is very important to me because it maximizes man-made constructive time with the perspective or gratitude of finding the light, the love, and the lessons, and learning from the responsibility, attraction, and the participation in that perception of gratitude in order to what? Apply my why, be inspired in spirit, to remember and recollect with the omniscient, all-powerful, all-knowing source that loves me more than my mom. It allows me to be protected and promoted, and allows me to utilize the enormous, unlimited, all-powerful energy that I'm a part of. Being at ease is being at ease, is the result of empathy, and the amount of empathy and healing that we have, and forgiveness heals all wounds or all disease. That's awesome. All right, Nick, is there someone else that wants to come up live?
Absolutely. And real quick, before we bring them up, I'll go ahead and reset the room here. Welcome, everybody. This is David Meltzer's Power Hour, when the best room on Clubhouse, the Breakfast with Champions. Today's topic is BYOQ. Bring the questions, and David will bring the answers. And as you have your questions for David, feel free to raise your hand or free to back channel me, and we will aim to bring you up. With that said, Dave, I know we have Colleen here who has been patiently waiting. So Colleen, feel free to unmute yourself and ask David your question. Welcome.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Dave, my question is about consistency this week. Why do you feel like it's so important to build consistency within your subconscious? And what steps do you take in order to create those habits to do so?
Yeah, thank you. So I think, consistency is a superpower of mine. And I think it's a combination of discipline and OCD that has helped me be consistent. But I believe in a conscious continuum. As you kind of explore how does it impact our subconscious, you first have to understand the conscious and why consistency is so important with our daily activities, our daily practices, that habit machine that creates the subconscious repository or subconscious bank of 40,000 of the same thoughts. And let's start at the conscious level. At the conscious level, we input data into our system. And the way that we put data into our system is through daily activities, because at a conscious level, it's separated by unconscious and subconscious behavior. It's called sleep. And so each conscious day, daily activities that we have are separated, excuse me, by sleep, which is an unconscious and subconscious behavior. So we have to start at the conscious level and say to ourselves, in order to input data into the subconscious, it takes a minimum of 21 days. Therefore, we need to be consistent in practicing whatever behaviors we'd like to input into the middle ground of memory called the subconscious. And the advantage of putting something into the subconscious is it creates a neural pathway. And if those understand the subconscious, I like to think of it as a ski slope. And if you ski down a hill in the exact same way for 21 straight days, it creates an automatic path where you can just put your skis on that path and it will take you down the hill. And it becomes easier, more efficient, more effective, and statistically successful by creating that path or that neural pathway, that ski path or way that was created by the conscious effort every day of doing the exact same thing and practicing it. And so we do about 10,000 inputs a day, 10,000 different things that go into our cellular memory, which is a daily practice, a daily memory that is interrupted by unconscious and subconscious activity called sleep. So the better we are at our daily inputs in a trajectory of where we think we want to be, the greater our subconscious will work in our favor because the more that we have a thought, an action, a word, a belief, or a feeling consistent every day, the deeper the neural pathway is, the more efficient we are. And that neural pathway, then, those 40,000 thoughts that are used every day, instead of just being an input in 21 days, it now, as we repeat doing the same thing, like saying thank you before we go to bed, or thank you before we go to sleep, it not only enters the subconscious and creates a neural pathway of gratitude, but it starts to activate through an epigenetic layer in our unconscious, our quantum being, our energetic and genetic being, create a hard drive of gratitude. You now will actually have a happy gene. You will now have a grateful gene. You will now have a 5-iron gene if you hit your 5-iron every day, whatever it may be. And so the conscious continuum from understanding the daily consistent practices at the conscious level, whatever we practice, whether it be gratitude or golf or writing or Spanish or calculus or whatever it is that we're practicing, if we do it daily, it will, in a minimum of 21 days, create a pathway, ski slope, predetermined and pre-executed upon, that will eventually, if continually practice it, will shift our quantum, energetic, and genetic being. And the one thing that's difficult for people to understand is that our addictions, which help us create those consistent behaviors, don't change in our hard drive after 21 days. Sometimes it takes 21 lifetimes. So if you have a genetic or energetic inheritance to be addicted to nicotine or alcohol or cocaine or lying, you have to be aware that it may not at the quantum level completely dissolve, dissipate, or disappear in this lifetime. Therefore, the conscious practice of sobriety, of being on with yourself, of not smoking, of not drinking, of not snorting, of not injecting, of not swallowing pills, whatever it may be, is extremely important, which then reinforces how important it is to be consistent. And that's why values, daily practices, and execution of the progress that we want in a trajectory that we want to be in creates the awareness to how important it is to give meaning to yesterday, to 10 years ago, to defining moments, historical relevances, to the shortages, the voids, the obstacles, to the interference that we've created. Because if we can extract through gratitude and forgiveness, to count and learn the lessons, to find that light, love, and lessons in the past, aligned with the trajectory we want to be, to create consistent behavior that has only one result: progress. Progress that most of the time can never be realized until a long period of linear time or man-made constructive time. And so we have to have a source of faith to say, hey, this good behavior of saying thank you is going to aggregate, compound, and exponentially create outcomes in my life. I'm just not aware of the outcomes yet, but I should have faith that it's creating progress, acceleration towards where I think I want it better, because it's creating and assisting and enhancing my conscious continuum, my cellular memory, my subconscious memory, and my quantum memory are also creating progress towards what I want through those values, practices, execution of them. Hopefully it wasn't too deep, but very important in what I believe. It's why I believe my consistency is my superpower. I believe I have a habit machine where I've gone beyond trying to do something, but instead working on the machine that allows me to input anything I want to do and create that progress towards what I want to do, say, think, feel, or believe.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David. And I'm just seeing a little comment here in the chat that someone said they just finished watching the wonderful interview with you on TMZ. Wanted to give a little shout out. I know that was some special fun this week. If anybody missed it, make sure to go on David's Instagram, just at David Meltzer, and you can catch the full clip on there. But how was that experience for you, David?
You know, I'll tell you this about TMZ. You definitely want to be the expert, talk about Tom Brady instead of being the Tom Brady with some expert talking about you. And I'm blessed to be sharing the stage with Tom Brady down in Mexico City, in Chicharito. I think Tom Bilyeu. But my favorite moment was when they asked me, who's opening for who? You or Tom? You opening for Dave? Dave, you opening? I'm like, I absolutely. Anytime Tom Brady wants me to be the opening act, I'm there. The irony of it is that Chicharito, who's he's the Messi of Mexico, all of Mexico. He is, probably the most well-known athlete. He's like the Pele of Mexico City. And Tom and I both agree that we'll open for Chicharito in Mexico City anytime he wants. And so talking about perception and relativity, but those guys have a lot of fun. I was terrified that I was falling into a trap talking about Delta and Tom Brady. And, ironically, I was the one that brought up the diarrhea at Delta. And it worked. If you want to catch it, I think it's on my Instagram. It's a really 12-minute, really fun piece. And the lesson I took from it, Nick, was, though, I'd much rather be me as an expert talking about Delta and Tom Brady than being Brady Delta with some a-hole like me talking about them. But more importantly, it was a lot of fun. Check it out.
I love it. It was one of my favorite interviews as of recent, to say the least. I know we have Dr. Emerald Lynn here, who's been patiently her hand raised. So welcome. Happy Friday. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask David your question.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Absolutely.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry, I could be in Vegas. I'm sure it's a great time. So I wanted to ask.
Is that me, Nick, or her? Nick?
Hopefully you can hear me.
Can you hear me?
I can hear now. Can you repeat that? I'm sorry. For some reason, it blanked out.
Oh, sure. So the question is, when you decide to let someone go versus mentor them, and the example is, I think, any other pro team versus Natalie Portman's Angel City team when they first started, at least.
Yeah, it's interesting because, in business and in life, I have a great chain of feeding. And so there's a matrix that has two different variables. One is understanding how much someone feeds you or the cause or the trajectory, and also determinative upon how relative they are to the mission or the cause. So I'll use in a personal example for me, my mother, who's 80 years old, at this time in her life, bleeds me more than she feeds me. But she is so relative in my life that she is still a priority, and I would never allow that relationship to fall away. And so determinative upon first understanding how much someone feeds you or bleeds you, but then reconcile it with how relative they are to your mission or to your life or to your values, whatever it may be. And so whether you're an athlete like Aaron Rodgers, who because of the amount of money they had to pay and his age and the objective of the Green Bay Packers, even though his relativity to the team was at a higher level than most players, it was time to Aaron Rodgers fall away. And that's why, it wasn't a firing, it was a fall away. Now, if someone bleeds you and they're not relative to you, fire them. And that's in a personal and professional capacity. So if you have a high school friend who talks shit behind your back, even though you're 55 years old, and says not nice things about you because he cannot let go of a snapshot of when you were 19 and you stole his girlfriend or whatever else you did, or maybe you tried to help him and he lives below the line, or whatever circumstance it is, fire him. Fire him from your life. They're not very relevant anymore. And so I think it's really important for us to raise our awareness to, number one, who feeds us and who bleeds us, so we determine how much time we're going to spend with them, but also reconcile it with how relative is this person in my life? Because the more relative they are, the more we'll let them bleed us. The less relative they are, we go to a greater degree of falling away or even firing them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David. And thank you, Dr. Monroe, for the great question. And David, we are at the halfway point, so I'm going to go ahead and quickly reset the room. Welcome, everybody. Obviously, this is the Power Hour with David Meltzer in the best room on Clubhouse, the Breakfast with Champions. It's currently 6:30 a.m. Pacific, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. And today's topic is BYOQs. So you bring the questions, and of course, David will bring the answers. And of course, we just love to continue to pour into this community. So if you have more friends, colleagues, or anybody that you know would benefit from this conversation, make sure to use the little box and the arrow in the lower left-hand corner of your screen to share with all your friends. Now, David, let's go ahead and take one more person here live, and then we can take a question or two from online.
Yeah, it's done. So appreciate everyone. And two, anyone wants, the values or daily practices or the habit machine, they can reach out and email me, of course, or also join our text community to get alerted for where we're at. But let's take the next guest.
Absolutely. And that email for everybody is david@dmeltzer.com. The text community, which is also in the chat, is 949-298-2905. Now we have a limitless Ziga who has been patiently waiting. So thanks so much for your patience and welcome to the room. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Good morning, David.
Now I have an energy and an aura and a beautiful face connected to that beautiful voice. Just so I got to meet my dear friend in person and get a hug. And my wife and I just adore you inside and out. You're an amazing person. We love you.
Oh, I love you, David. And I was so just appreciative for you and your team inviting me to Santa Barbara. I'm meeting your wife. Oh my God, because all the stories that you told, she's probably going to be like, who is that girl? I gave her so many hugs. I was like, I feel like I knew you. But earlier you mentioned, David, about being in the room and not asking a question. And I have to be vulnerable here because I came to Santa Barbara. You know how much I love you. I always ask you questions. And I was appreciative of being in that frequency and in that neighborhood. But as I told you before, I have been following Dr. Dispenza for over 10 years, him and Dr. Bruce Lipton and Greg Braden. But I was like, well, let me just absorb the frequency of the neighborhood, allow for us to ask questions. But then, before I didn't have so what tip would you give when you were in those high frequency rooms, balancing giving grace and absorbing the environment and the responses, as well as asking the question that you want to ask?
Yeah, it was amazing. I think so many people were in your position. We brought together a higher frequency of people with Dr. Joe Dispenza and Dr. Ken Vu and Chicharito and Major, who's a frequency, award-winning platinum record frequency musician. And not everybody was raising their hand, but everyone was there to ask questions of these people. And because of the grace of the frequency, of the commonality between all these beautiful people, I think the biggest takeaway that I had from the event is it's just as important for you to ask your question as it is to be graceful, because I think at its core, you're confirming it's a value add world. And that the true form of grace is to bring out the greatness, that your question is not taking away from somebody else asking a question. Your question is the one that everybody wants to be answered. And that your question would have raised the value of the room. And, I tell myself all the time, ask for help. In fact, last night we did a dinner here in Las Vegas, and we had the amazing Ryan Pineda and Flex Lewis and Forrest Griffin and Alex Eisman. The list went on. And I brought up the point that, I do these things, and I can't tell you how many rooms I walk out of and say, oh my God, I wish I would have asked this. Or I wish I would have gotten that person's cell phone number. I wish I would have gone up and just hugged the person and thanked them. And so my lesson, and what I encourage everyone to do, is to live in a value add world, not a zero sum game, and realize how, I know that I have a lot of people that I want to meet, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't want to bother them. They'll be at an event with me or a dinner with me. Oh, I don't want to bother them. And, I'm that person, like I said, that is perfectly famous, where they asked me to be on TMZ to comment on Tom Brady. I don't want to be Tom Brady, where, maybe it is bothersome. But all the times when people approach me hesitantly or graciously and forgivingly, like, I just wanted to come by and acknowledge the information that you share. I want to acknowledge the gratitude of you impacting my life, or keep on doing a word of inspiration, what you do. It is such a value add to me. I had experience, Singa, coming here to Vegas, where, I had a very, very active week. I had a family issue with one of my aunts. I had my poor puppy, who's 5 years old, throw out 2 discs in her back. She's in surgery, and I had the rest of my life. And I was on time with my wife's in my anniversary and her birthday, and I was foolish enough to squeeze in a speech in Fort Myers and fly for 3 hours back and forth to Florida. And so by 9 o'clock at night, I flew into Las Vegas after saying goodbye to my son, who I spend 30 minutes minimum a day with. I was questioning my faith. Am I doing things aligned with the trajectory of where I want to be? Should I turn back around and just go home and not do what I promised to do, to pour into the community with the meetup and at the Win, and taking people that I promised to interview to elevate their brands, and to do a speech, and to all the things that I'm doing. And, I was dozing off because it was after 9 o'clock. Everybody knows at 9 o'clock morning routine. And when I woke up, I had underneath my 6-ounce ginger ale that they served me was a note on the napkin. And it said, thank you so much. I just wanted to acknowledge you hearing everything you can. It has impacted and changed my life, paid. And I thought, wow, this person was too embarrassed to come up and say hi, or didn't want to bother me or whatever. But this little note changed my entire mindset, my entire energy. All of a sudden, I had faith again. Faith that I was protected and promoted, that I had more energy than I knew what to do with, and that fear and doubt was only interfering with my potential. And you have that power, Siga. You and everyone in here didn't come up forward and ask me anything, or hasn't been at a dinner, or haven't come up to acknowledge people. This is a value add world, not a zero sum game. You are not bothering anyone. You are gracious by asking questions, because everybody wants to hear the answer. The reason it came to you and resonated with you is it is the flow that told you, I need to ask this question of Dr. Joe Dispenza, of Chicharito, of Dr. Kieran Vu, of Chad Senjigan, whoever it is. This came to you. It's a calling, and you are actually interfering with your calling when you're not doing it. And so I would encourage you to think of grace in a different way, in a value add way, not a zero-sum way, which most of us do, including me. And then we have no regrets, resentments, or guilt from doing so. You are a beautiful soul for even thinking this way. I can't wait to see you in person. My wife, I think, adores you even more than me. And please come and see us anytime. You are a blessing to all, and appreciate you here on Breakfast of Champions as well.
Thank you, David, for that shift, as you always do, and give your wife my love. I can't wait to see you guys again. Thank you.
Thank you. And I encourage everyone else to show up and everyone else to ask questions. And, you know, we would love for you to join our text community so we can alert you of every single city, every single person that we're with, so that you can share in our neighborhood. A frequency, your frequency is our neighborhood. Answer those callings, asking for help or by asking questions. Nick, this has been an extraordinary morning fire. Why don't we go ahead and reset the room? You tell me. I got tons of questions on all of the different platforms, or if people are in line, I always prefer to answer questions for people that are there.
Absolutely. And just a reminder to everybody as well, as David's doing so much travel via Indianapolis in 2 weeks, New York, San Diego, Mexico City, all coming up in the next few weeks.
Orlando, Houston, they're all there, Nick. And Orange County and LA with Junior Achievement up at Top Golf and then SoFi. So there's a lot going on. Just let us know.
Absolutely. And that email is david@dmeltzer.com. And the text community is in the chat as well. We look like we got about the last 20 minutes here. So as you guys continue to have your questions, feel free to raise your hand or back channel me, and we'll aim to bring you up. David, let's go ahead and take one from online, and then we'll come back. We have plenty of people live here for you.
All right, perfect. Sounds great for me. All right, question. How do you define value in your life? Are these definitions influenced by external factors, personal experiences, or a combination of both? So I have values of mine, and those values are gratitude, empathy, accountability, and effective communication. Value in my life is a quantitative value that has one common denominator of it, which is time. And so time is man-made in its construct. So external factors will be relative to man-made constructive linear time. Personal experiences, though, will create relativity of the infinite time, because they create defining moments, shortages, voids, obstacles, successes, failures, historical relevances. And those combination of how the definition of value relative to time influences me concerning external factors and personal experiences is understanding that external factors are only quantitatively analyzed by how much time am I going to spend with attention on those external factors, with intention on those external factors relative to the personal experiences that I'm have. So to give you an example, I utilize 5 daily practices in order to identify and define external factors and personal experiences. So I will ask myself, what is it I want today, personally, experientially, giving and receiving wise, considering the external factors that exist, COVID, the high interest rates, they come into town, my puppy having surgery, other things that are external. And I ask myself, considering today, here's all the set of external factors. Considering all those things today, what did I want? In the trajectory of what I think I want in the future, who can help me? Who can I help? And considering these external factors aligned with my values, how can I best get it done? By using time as a dependent variable, because I know today is defined, even at the conscious level of the cellular memory, which I talked about before, which will then encourage and inherit into my subconscious and unconscious someday. But today, how can I best get it done? Considering the activities I planned, the activities I don't have planned, the empty space, the nothing, the non-time, and my sleep, and my non-negotiable in the context of how those are planned and incorporated into my day, even taking into account those external factors today. I don't worry about tomorrow because there'll be a whole nother set of external factors, and then I can go and reevaluate, re-engineer my trajectory, subtly making improvement and progress in the trajectory of where I want to be or better, by learning even more lessons from the past, by giving more meaning to my past in alignment with that trajectory, concerning and reconcile the external factors and my personal values, and defining it by time, by that variable. And if I do so, then I get to confirm the productivity, accessibility, and gratitude that I'm looking for, because I can now prioritize what's important to me concerning what I want in consideration of the personal experiences of today and the external factors that exist today. And so instead of worrying and creating interference and not feeling purpose, passion, or profits, I simply am applying my why to get more purpose, more passion, and more profit by identifying what I'm doing to interfere with it and dissolving and disappearing that interference instead of trying to search for what I already have. And so it's really important as we define the influence of external factors in conjunction with the personal experiences in the trajectory where I think I want to be, knowing that time is the dependent variable. The limited amount of time, the time that a particle of light leaves the sun and hits the earth, defines the activities for each day, also defines our progress. And so we need to utilize time dependent variable in order to effectuate getting to where we want to be faster, creating greater exponential outcomes, and accelerating and aggregating more of what we want. And so it's, a practice of mine. In fact, I'd be happy to send those 5 daily practices that incorporates and defines the influence of external factors and personal experience, a combination of both. So it's a key practice of mine, those daily practices, and that mindset, heart, that enhance that incorporates a day. And, one other quick thing, Nick, I know we got a lot of people waiting. It was, I deal with time all the time. It's my love language. And I know it wasn't in the book Love Language, they didn't put time in there. They put money and they put attention or whatever it is. But my love language is time. And it was so interesting that as I took a step back, I study time every day. I study my time every day, meaning study is defined for me. I pay attention to and give intention to what I think, say, do, believe, and feel about time to create more coincidences that I want. It's a mathematical equation of karma or action. It's a mathematical equation of luck. Attention plus intent equals coincidences. But I took a step back as I was intentionally studying time. And it was amazing because I said, okay, 24 hours a day, determined by the particle of light that I mentioned, 24 hours a day, 7 hours a day, sleep. So I really have consciously, because I already told you sleep is subconscious and unconscious behavior, to recover and access what we want and be accessible to the source of our faith. So that leaves 17 hours. And then I looked at the non-negotiables of my life, my health, my family, my finance, my time, studies. And I said, that's approximately 3 hours. So if every day I got amazing sleep and got all my non-negotiables taken care of for my family, my finance, and my faith, I basically have 14 hours to do whatever the F I want to do in the trajectory of progress of where I think I want to be or better. 14 hours a day. And people ask me, how are you so productive? How are you so accessible to others? How are you so gracious? I got 14 hours a day. Beyond what it takes to get to where most people want to be, which is by sleeping right and taking care of my non-negotiables. I have 14 hours a day. And I encourage everyone to take a step back and utilize my love language of time in order to facilitate how many hours a day you have, whatever the F you want, to vacation every day, to study what you want every day, to increase your frequency every day, beyond your non-negotiables, beyond your sleep. You have 14 hours, maybe you have 10, maybe you have 6, to do whatever the F you want. Do you know, that's how I define freedom. To do whatever I want, have options, opportunities, and touches of favor for 14 hours a day. Are you kidding me? Beyond my sleep, beyond my non-negotiables, and you have the exact same thing. And it took me all of these years. I've been studying this stuff for 17 years. I've been alive 55 years and a half almost, or more than half. And it took me that long to figure out that I have 14 hours a day to do whatever the F I want to improve my personal values, my experiential values, my giving values, my receiving values, to give and be of service of others, and to ask others to give and be of service to me, to be an abundant, infinite, unified system of thought that exists here to improve here, notating that here is no better than there, and there is no better than here, that they're all the same. And I got 14 hours a day to do whatever the F I want. I am challenging you today on the BYOQ AMA to ask me anything. I want you to walk away and I want you to think about today, how many hours a day beyond my sleep, beyond my non-negotiables do I have to do whatever the F I want? That's what I want you to do. And you will have a grace, a peace, a productive, accessible, and gracious existence, a perspective that will allow you to stay in the flow and to confirm and prioritize all of the options, opportunities, and touches of favor that exist within the amount of time you have each day, the freedom you have each day to do whatever the F you want. All right, Nick, now that you can do whatever the F you want, we got about 10 minutes left or 9 minutes left. Why don't we bring up another person?
I love it. I love it. And as you guys take that challenge, feel free to email David your direct feedback. And if there's anything that he can do to be able to help in terms of the management of time or provide that 5 daily practices guide, once again, that email is just dave@dmeltzer.com. With this last 9 minutes, I know we have Casey. Yep.
This is Ramon Ray. I didn't know how to raise my hand. Let me know when I can just chime in for 10 seconds.
Chime in, Ramon. This is your house, baby.
Oh, well, no, I respect you. Thank you, Nick and David. I just want to say, David, I remember when you and I were at VCon with Gary Vaynerchuk, you mentioned about meeting 2 people who I was nervous about meeting. One was Deepak Chopra. He was there in the room. You probably were up there. And I was like, do I bow? Do I say, hello, sir? Do I look him in the eye like, Deepak? So I just wanted to say that to your point, David, I approached him and was like, can I get a video with you? So that's one. And then David Meltzer, it was you. You and I crossed paths. We're a big deal, really. So when I think I saw you in the hallway, we met each other like I saw you, slightly not free time, but, a moment I could jump in. I was like, how do I say hi to this guy? But how you greeted me, David, was like we were best friends. And I think like the leaders do, people have talked about President Clinton, Barack Obama, they're very present in the moment. So I just wanted that. Let me jump in, Nick, just to amplify you and to say I get what you said, Dave. Thanks.
Ramon, I just have to tell you that anyone that would even mention me in the same frequency of Deepak, who is a friend of mine, President Clinton, President Obama, thank you. That your perception means a lot. And I will tell you that whether it's Gary, Tom, and Jim Quick, and Austin Eckler, Michael Chandler, Alec Ingold, all the guys that I've been around, and I'm blessed to sit on the Transformational Leadership Council with Deepak and Canfield and Bob Proctor, who has passed. And I had that same feeling, Ramon, when I was young. I remember the first time I got invited to Deepak's apartment, and he had all these other famous people from the news, and I almost didn't go in. And then I remembered, my mission in life, to ask a seat at the table and to give a seat at the table. And your mission is the same, Ramon. You've taken over this community, this clubhouse. And I remember when Glenn Lundy, who I'm blessed to mentor, and he's a dear friend, as you know, for me, he said, Dave, I want to give people a seat at the table. and you help me bring in the people that can help give those seats. And I want them to pull up a chair next to them to bring other people up to their seat. And I want to acknowledge you, that I am going to mention you as the same type of frequency that you should have no reservation coming up to. Certainly David Meltzer, Deepak Chopra, Obama, Clinton, or whoever else you feel resonates with you, because this is the breakfast of champions. And we got to pull up the seats for other people and ask them to put a seat next to them for us. This is a community of people, very simply, from the highest levels. This is a community of people that are here to help each other and to know people that can help each other. And I encourage you to invite your friends in. I encourage you to ask for help. And of course, we all are here to provide it as well. Ramon, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Nick, is there someone waiting for the last 5 minutes?
Absolutely. We have Macy, who's been patiently waiting. So Macy, happy Friday. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask David a question.
Good morning, Dave. Happy Friday. My question is, what is the best way to change old habits that are interfering with your potential?
Macy, how old are you? Oh, she sounds so young.
She said 20, Dave.
21. The fact that you're here at 21, congratulations. So I'm in the practice of identifying fear. And so fear is what interferes with our potential. And the practice, and I'm afraid every day. And I know that human nature has a response to fear. And it's been studied and it's been taught and it's been, therapied. So the human nature responds to fear with the ego. To what? To protect us, to promote us. Isn't that interesting? Because the entire source of my faith, Macy, is to be protected and promoted, to believe I live in a value-add world, to believe that I'm omniscient, all-powerful, all-knowing. What I do to interfere with it, with a source of faith that is a unified, abundant, infinite system of thought that I belong to. And the practice of identifying fear and the understanding that we're protected and promoted by the ego led me to a path of understanding I better start practicing identifying fear, noting when I identify it that I am prepared for my ego to protect and promote me with the need to be blank, the need to be separate, the need to be inferior, the need to be superior, the need to be offended or right or angry or anxious or frustrated or guilty or resentful. I know that my ego was developed within the context of human nature in order to protect and promote me because of my faith, because of the omniscient all-knowing. But it is there to give us time to reevaluate and re-engineer that fear by stopping, not resisting, by not going over, under, and through the ego, not lying to it, manipulating it, cheating it, or denying it, but simply supplying it with the inspiration that we are part and parcel of. By stopping when we identify fear and preparing for the ego to protect and promote us, and then breathing back to reminding and remembering and recollecting to our source of faith that we're more than enough of everything for everyone. And then instead of rolling in the wrong trajectory, instead of aggregating, accelerating, and creating exponentiality of outcomes we don't want, we roll in the right trajectory. We roll in gratitude to find the light, the love, and the lessons. We roll in forgiveness for being afraid. We roll in accountability to find those lessons through responsibility, attraction, and a participation in a perception of everything we want. To regain, remember, remind, and recollect our in-spirit, our inspiration, to be our higher self, our potential. For me, it is essential to be in the practice of identifying fear and preparing for the ego to protect and promote us, and to stop the resistance, to stop the lying, cheating, manipulating, denying of the ego. Instead, it is a indicator. It is a indicator through the pain, setbacks, failures, mistakes, successes, defining moments, historical relevance. Indicator. The ego is an indicator that we are protected and promoted. It's a reminder, go back to ease. Don't create more dis-ease. Don't create more fear. Go back to ease. I have given you the light. I have given you the lessons. I have given you the love. Stand firm with it. Allow yourself through the veracity and the ferocious activity during the day and the trajectory where you want to be by giving meaning when you identify or are indicated of fear, and prepare for the protection and promotion of the ego in order to facilitate a acceleration, an aggregation, and a compounding of outcomes that you want, not that you don't want, or not that you're missing, or not that you don't have. Practice identifying fear. And if you're 21 in this room, please, everyone, pull up a seat for Macy, because she is going to create a legacy for all of us. Our future is bright. If there's 21-year-olds in here, our bench is deep to have a 21 in here asking questions like that. We are graced by your presence. It's 7 a.m. Pacific time. That's my calling. And Nick, if you can do me the favor, let everyone know where they can reach out to us and close out the room. May you all be blessed, be more interested than interesting. Please join us around the country. We're in so many different cities, so many different places. But most importantly, be kind to your future self and do good deeds. We'll see you next week.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank
so
you,
much.
everyone.
As
We
always,
appreciate you.
David, I think everybody
Thank you so
agreed
much.
it's an impactful hour on Friday mornings. No place we would rather be. And want a special shout out to
Now I'm at the point you wanna be with me. I'm vibing out at a higher frequency, cause everything that I want and I'm gonna be, it's when I wake up, that's when I start to dream. Someone you love is talking down, here is the plan. Let it fall through like a handful of sand. Nothing happens overnight, what you must understand. If you dwell on the bad, then you don't stand a chance. Something you want upset, saying why it ain't mine yet. That's because now you have yet to change your mindset. People don't put their mind to rest while they're so wired. A lot of people go to sleep and wake up tired. Power of positivity and persistence. Say that I can, we'll just sit back and witness. Make an impact when our time is done. Make money, help people, and have lots of fun. Whoa.